Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we uncover the untold stories of rock and roll legends. Today, we're diving into the sudden and tragic death of one of rock's greatest frontmen, Bon Scott, the legendary lead singer of AC/DC. Bon's voice and swagger helped catapult AC/DC into international stardom, but on February 19, 1980, the world lost him in a sudden, shocking way. Today, we're going to explore the truth behind his untimely death, the theories that have emerged over the years, and what really happened in his final days. Let's start at the beginning, the rise of Bon Scott. Bon Scott joined AC/DC in 1974, and from the moment he stepped on stage, he brought an electricity that was unmatched. With his raspy voice, rebellious attitude, and signature smile, he quickly became the face of the band. AC/DC's raw, hard-edged sound and Bon's powerful stage presence earned them a dedicated fanbase. By 1979, they were on top of the world, with Highway to Hell becoming their breakout international hit. But while the band was soaring to new heights, Bon Scott was battling his own demons behind the scenes. He was known for his hard-living lifestyle, partying, drinking heavily, and living the rock star life to the fullest. As the pressures of fame mounted, so did Bon's dependence on alcohol, and by early 1980, it had reached a dangerous peak. February 18, 1980, started like many others for Bon Scott, a night of drinking and partying in London. He was out with friends, hitting up clubs, and letting loose. It was the life he had become accustomed to, wild, fast, and filled with excess. That night, Bon was with a friend named Alastair Kinnear, who would later play a central role in the events surrounding Bon's death. According to reports, Bon and Alastair spent the evening drinking at the Music Machine, a popular nightclub. As the night wore on, Bon became increasingly intoxicated. Alastair, concerned about his friend, decided to drive him home. But Bon was so drunk that he passed out in the car before they could reach their destination. Alastair made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Rather than wake Bon up and try to get him inside, he left him in the car, thinking he'd sleep it off. It was cold that night in London, but Alastair had no idea how dangerous this situation would become. The next morning, on February 19, Alastair Kinnear returned to the car to check on Bon. But when he opened the door, he realized something was terribly wrong. Bon Scott was unresponsive, and it was clear that something had gone horribly wrong during the night. Bon was rushed to King's College Hospital, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. He was pronounced dead, and just like that, rock and roll had lost one of its brightest stars. The official cause of death was listed as acute alcohol poisoning, and the case was ruled as death by misadventure, a common term used when accidents happen due to risky behavior. But even with an official explanation, questions and rumors began to swirl almost immediately. The theories: was there more to Bon's death? Bon Scott's sudden death shocked the world, and many of his fans and even those close to him couldn't believe that his life had ended so abruptly. Almost immediately, theories about what really happened began to circulate. One theory suggested that Bon had choked on his own vomit while passed out in the car, a tragic but all too common occurrence in cases of heavy drinking. Others wondered if the cold weather played a role in his death. That night, temperatures in London had dropped to near freezing, and Bon had been left in the car for hours. Some speculated that he may have succumbed to hypothermia, especially given his intoxicated state. This theory was particularly haunting because it raised the question: could his death have been prevented if someone had realized the danger he was in? But there were even darker rumors that surfaced in the years following his death. Some believed that drugs, not just alcohol, played a role in his passing. While the autopsy report did not find any drugs in his system, there were whispers within the rock community that Bon had been using heroin in the months leading up to his death. These rumors persisted, though no solid evidence has ever been presented to support the idea that drugs contributed to his untimely demise. The aftermath: AC/DC's devastating loss. For AC/DC, Bon's death was a crushing blow. The band had just achieved international stardom, and Bon was at the heart of their success. His death not only left a gaping hole in the band but also in the lives of his family, friends, and millions of fans around the world. In the months that followed, the band was faced with an impossible decision: should they carry on without Bon or let AC/DC die with him? After much soul-searching, they made the decision to continue, but only if they could find someone who could truly honor Bon's legacy. In 1980, AC/DC found their new lead singer in Brian Johnson, and together they recorded Back in Black, an album that would become one of the greatest rock albums of all time. But make no mistake, Back in Black was as much a tribute to Bon Scott as it was a new chapter for AC/DC. The title itself, Back in Black, was a nod to the mourning the band was going through, and songs like Hell's Bells echoed the loss they felt after Bon's passing. But even as AC/DC moved forward, the memory of Bon Scott never faded. He remained, and still remains, one of the most iconic figures in rock history. Today, more than 40 years after his death, Bon Scott's legacy continues to live on. His voice, his charisma, and his raw energy are still felt in every AC/DC song, and his influence on rock music is undeniable. Fans around the world still gather to celebrate his life, and his memory remains as strong as ever. But while Bon's legacy as a rock god is cemented, his tragic and sudden death serves as a reminder of the dangers of the rock and roll lifestyle. His death may have been labeled an accident, but it was the result of years of heavy drinking and the toll that rock stardom can take on a person's life. In the end, Bon Scott was a man who lived life on his own terms. He was wild, he was rebellious, and he left an indelible mark on the world of music. His death was tragic, but his life was legendary, and that's how we should remember him, as one of the greatest frontmen rock and roll has ever seen. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the truth behind Bon Scott's sudden death. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the lives of rock legends. And as always, keep rocking.